How many of you have been in online classes that you would say are really stagnant, really boring, hard to learn? It's like a glorified independent study. We're putting a lot of work in here trying to make this a dynamic class, but like anything you're going to learn in your career, nobody is successful alone. Behind the scene, we have online learning. We have Matt helping us. Say hi, Matt. Hello. All right. And again, as we get into some of these subjects, especially team building, everything else, and that leadership, you'll find your success depends upon all the people who help you get there. The program we're going to talk about right now is called The Ethical Leader, Becoming the Ethical Leader, and it's part of a program that I have taught all over the United States. And we're going to do other videos like this throughout the program to help you get a good understanding. What is a leader? What is a manager? What is a supervisor? And how very, very important it is for a leader, to understand and be able to mesh these roles. There's many an organization that has a great supervisor and a great manager. One makes sure all the budget's done, one makes sure everybody gets their schedules, but a lousy leader, and that's when an organization fails. And that becomes the leadership challenge. All right, organization. We'll talk about management organizations for a minute. All right, so what is management? Management, again, like is budget. It's about data. It's about facts. It's like picture you're going to climb a mountain, and the manager makes sure that everything's done. He makes sure the supplies are done, and he makes sure everything, and the supervisor makes sure that I have enough people to complete the task. But the leader is the vision that helps you get there and knows why you're climbing the mountain. We're going to deal with issues like how difficult it is to define what is a leader. Now, leadership, it's easy to tell when there is lack of leadership, but it's hard to define what are the qualities. It's like trust. Trust is another thing, very hard to define, but easy to say there's a lack of trust in this organization, which some of you might be suffering from. We'll talk about the difference between central and decentralized leadership, about flat organizations and heavy bureaucracies. So again, leadership becomes very difficult to define within itself. And we're going to end this, as I travel the country and teach, I also teach the profit and nonprofit. What we're talking about has nothing to do with purely law enforcement. The issues we're talking about is germane through any organization. As we look at what makes a leader, there's some components a leader has a vision where we're going. Without the vision, it's just a manager, a supervisor. What is our purpose? And law enforcement needs a vision. It isn't day-to-day solving problems. It's day-to-day solving problems with a purpose to it. The training and what we talk about needs to be realistic, fit the real world. And ethics does matter. I spent a lot of time teaching ethics. Ethics matters. Ethics without leadership or leadership without ethics is lacking. And it takes great courage, as we talk about this function. I want you to take a moment. And I want you to take a sheet of paper, and this is going to be part of our discussion later on when you're in your discussion. I want you to look at what is the best and the worst supervisors you ever had. So who was the best or the worst person? Separate them, the best qualities and what made the best and the worst one. What were their role? What was this person like? How did they treat you? And what did it feel like to work for this person? So I want you to take a sheet and I want you to divide it up. And in discussion, we're going to talk about what in your experience working for the best and the worst. And our goal is later in your career, when we do this with people that report to you, you're the best, not the worst. This becomes a key part. So I want you at this point, I want you to pause. I want you to work on this and then join me. And this will be part of our discussion. Okay, now you're back after you're identifying the strengths and weaknesses. Let's take a look at leadership. I want you to picture you're in the jungle. And we got a team in the jungle, and we're trying to work through the jungle. And I have supervisors, and we have manager. Now, manager makes sure that everybody has all their equipment. Their machetes are sharp for working in the jungle. We have supplies. We make sure we have a lot of water. Supervisors are developing teams and making sure we have training for those teams so they know how to do it with safety. Now, the leader is the one that climbs the tallest tree and it looks out and he tries to say, we're in the jungle, we're going. Now, here's the danger. Even when your message is good, because this leader yells back and says, we're going the right direction, and they always got managers and supervisors saying, we don't care, we're making progress, we're moving in the jungle. That's why that leadership role is so critical to your success. Leadership is about future. What will the future bring? to have a vision. Law enforcement's changed a lot, even in the few years, 32 years I was in law enforcement. I mean, with the forensics, with the community policing, with a lot of the stuff, the whole purpose, the community, the dynamics, the diversity, entire communities have changed. And we as a law enforcement organization, to become professionals, have to look to the future and change with it. We can't just do what we've always done. So you take a look at the future. Always remember, although the past and the present may be important, you'll spend the rest of your life in the future. So what I want you to do, I want you to take a moment now, and I want you to think about, of all the things to leadership, what is the most important? Think about, you just hired a new sergeant. It's not you, you're in charge. What would you tell this person on why leadership matters? All right. I hear stories, you're born a leader. How do you become a leader? So let's just address some of the myths. Now, in the reading you do on the leading mind, a lot of these you're going to see there is no such thing a leader is. They're so different in how dynamic or who they are and what they do. And many times a leader is really directly related to that opportunity, and something happens and you have the opportunity to become a leader. So let's look at some of the myths. Leadership's a rare skill. Take a good look at your organization. Now, when you think of leadership, most of you think of the head of an organization. That has nothing to do with my authority and my position and leadership. The ideal is the head of your organization, your chief, your CEO, whatever it may be, is a leader, but not necessarily. There's leaders throughout your organization at many levels. We go to them, we ask for advice. They may have been there the longest, they may know where all the skeletons. They come from many different avenues. They're throughout an organization. The next myth, we're basically born, not made. It's like character, everything. The more we do, the more we learn, the more we have a chance. I want you to think, if any of you ever played sport, and you practice, but never played, never had the opportunity, how are you when they put you there? So it's created, these are skills we create. Now, get me wrong. There's an art and a science to this. I can teach you and teach you and teach you, and you may have all the skills in the world, but a lot of it because you've had experience and you had chance and you developed the art part of it, we'll say. All leaders are charismatic. It's not true. They come from all different avenues. We kind of have this vision of this stereotype. There is no stereotype in what is a leader. Leadership only exists at the top. We talked about that. They're throughout the organization. Now, here's the evil myth. Leadership, control, direct, manipulate. We're going to talk about the ethical leaders as we go along. No, they work with you, they mentor you, they help you, and they're willing to help you move along and become successful. So leadership, to summarize, is everywhere. It's you. That's why you're here. All right, the ethical leader, that's what we're talking about. The theme ethics is critical to me because a person with high moral value and character, consistent over time, is one of the important traits that we talked about of the leader. So why be an ethical leader? I know you look around, you've seen them, people who treat people off, walk all over them, treat them with disrespect, and they become the chief or become the captain and work their way up. So why even bother? And so this is where we're going to help you understand over the long time it's critical. So I want you to think about leadership. And we're going to look at some of the major models of leadership over time. But just take a moment and think. Let's look at leaders. Now, leaders, you and your family, was Hitler a leader? If you just say leadership is about having followers, Churchill, was he a leader? Gandhi, a leader. I mean, all the different people, Margaret Thatcher, leader. So the thing is, leadership isn't just about following. There's far more to the leadership role. So let's look at, over time, the major models of leadership. Command model. Now, command model, now most of you think of military, and that's what I have up here is command, because they seem to go together. But some of their very best leadership training is in the military, and it's not the command model. It's about team building and working together. Now, the model I'm talking about, command, you do what you say because if you don't, you pay a price. Command has the power to direct you to where they want you to go. They lead by fear. Look around an organization. Today it's almost impossible to lead by fear because in reality, you don't have the power, nor should you have the power. Let's move along as our leader. Let's look at the parental. Parental model, now it seems softer, but there's a problem here I'll explain. This model is different from command in that they believe they know what's best for you and direct you where you should go, where you need to go. They lead because they know what's best for you. A good story, an example of this, and if you look at history, is Benjamin Franklin and DuPont. DuPont was an aristocrat. At the time of the Revolutionary War, in their correspondence, and most of this was correspondence at the time, DuPont said, we need to develop a society of the aristocratic elite to lead the people. And Benjamin Franklin, or maybe it was Thomas Jefferson, I don't remember for sure, said back to him in a letter, you and I see them as children. You see them as infants that don't have the ability to do and achieve and lead. I see them as young adults that will make mistakes, but they'll learn and they'll grow. It is disrespectful to say, I know what's best for you, without breeding you and involving you when it comes to you as the point of a leader and a follower. Now, how many know who Machiavelli is? Machiavelli wrote a great book, The Prince. Highly recommend it. But the term Machiavellian goes directly with that manipulating, controlling leader. Now, when I call it contingency leadership, meaning I will do whatever I need to do to get the job done. Look around you, they're there. In fact, I'm going to say it's the most common leader today that many of you face. They will be your friend when they have to. They will use you. Now, we would like to say in the end they would get theirs. Doesn't happen. They move their way up, but there's a problem for them. And the problem is they can't lead for the long term. And you see that. So a chief comes in, somebody comes in, they do what they need to do, they burn their bridges, but over time, there can only so many times I can manipulate you, which we're going to go to the next one on leadership. And that is really principle-based, the ethical leader. And that's what we're talking about. It has all the strengths, and yet it treats people like human beings with respect and dignity. It's also participatory leadership. Now, don't be confused. Participatory leadership is not a vote. You are the leader. So let's look at what we're talking about. This is a philosophy of manager. It's about character. It's about having a vision. It's about people and trust. It's working with people to go somewhere. It's valued center. It leads others through communication, the vision. Now, the secret of vision, it's like community policing. Don't be offended. In many ways, in many organizations, community policing is worthless because it is not community policing. We say we are. Community policing is about a vision I create, and a way of doing business involving that you buy in, and together we go there. It can't be done by an order, and that's exactly the role of that manager. The principle-based leadership involves people, participatory management, when we can, and that's the key. It's not about we vote, but when it affects you and I can't, I involve you. It's respect. It shows dignity. So it's about you, the follower, working together. So let's take a look. Well, let me back up. So we just walked through the different steps of the leader. I want you to take a moment and I want you to think about where we've been. So let's take a look who our customers are. We serve people. I use the word customers. I mean it. We serve people in many capacities. Who are the people we serve? Who are our customers? And I'm going to say one of the most important customers around you is the people you as a leader. It's the people you're subordinate. I don't like the word. I'm going to call them direct reports. They are probably one of the most important person in your success. But yet a lot of people use them that they're more of a commodity. They're not. So the key to the ethical leader, you lead through people. You help them be successful. There's a great book and a great philosophy called The Servant Leader. My job is to serve you as a leader. And I will be so successful when I see my job is to serve you being successful rather than to use you up to make me look good. Individuals have value and needs, and you need to appreciate their values and help them achieve their needs becomes key. It isn't about me. Together we can accomplish so much more than me as an individual using you. And again, participatory management is one of the key principles in here. Involved, even the little things can destroy an entire organization when people feel like you disrespect them or you don't care and don't value them. This takes you through the leadership model. Now, I want to walk you through an interesting issue, but first we're going to look at how many of you here were prepared for that job? How many of you here had training? I know you're here today and you're in this program, but I have taught for over 20 years this subject to law enforcement. In fact, it's probably 30 years. And in my audience, so often I have people saying, I was a sergeant, I was a lieutenant. The first time I got promoted, I said, what am I supposed to do? If they say you're so dumb, we shouldn't have promoted you, and I never asked again. And like I had a gentleman stand up and he said, I look back at my career and I look at the number of people that I've really damaged and hurt, and I didn't know any better because I treated them like I'm on a SWAT operation and they're the enemy. So this is developing skills that are critical. But so often I hear that. I got promoted, nobody trained me, nobody prepared me for the job, and only trained and prepared me when I fail. So how many of you received management training before getting promoted? I'm going to walk you through this process, but first I want you to, I have a little slide here. If you haven't read the book, I'm going to recommend it. You're in a changing world of flux right now. There's a great book called, Who Moved My Cheese? You're in the maze. Join the maze, and it's a great opportunity. All right, I want you to walk through. I want you to tell you what it's like to be promoted, and I'm going to warn you. Okay, when you finish school, you become a police officer, you're looking for a job, and you do have jobs, but you're going to fit. We're going to look at what are your skills. I need human skills. That's HR skills. But you have skills. You have driving. You can shoot. You know the law. You have all these skills, so I hire you. But never in your life have you been so free. You can go anywhere with those skills. So I hire you. Do a great job. Now you're doing such a great job, I'm going to promote you. You're now that sergeant. Now here's the danger. The job of a sergeant isn't to be the best patrol officer. It's to be a supervisor who also is in the field. It's the best and the worst job. For some of you, it's the worst because you don't realize you're part of management. And the best job because you can still do the things that you came to do. But you notice, you have to realize you have a new job you're going to be doing, and you have to emphasize and learn the skills. Let's say you do a great job here. You worked hard, you did a great job, you're a good sergeant. I'm going to promote you again. Now you're a upper management. Kiss of death for many of you. Worst thing that ever happened to you, because what you always wanted to do is a patrol officer. But you said, if I don't get promoted, it must be that I'm weak. And you get promoted into a job you hate. Look around. You have them work in every agency. Look at the damage they do. Now they've lost why they came in the profession, and this isn't just law enforcement. And now they're doing things, they're reading your reports, they're doing budget, they're looking at planning, and they hate it. For those of you that do want to do this and you understand, it is a great career. But you need to know what you get into. But there's good news for those that do get promoted. I'm going to promote you again. You're going to be the chief, you're the commander. You're now, again, basically a free contractor because you can literally go to other agencies and move within the organizations, within your field. And again, it doesn't matter. You no longer really are capable and should be doing patrol work. You are a leader, you're a supervisor, you're doing the upper level. So you go from independence to totally dependent. You get paid more salary, you can't go back, to really independent again. And that's a track. The danger is you don't know when you take this job. You get promoted to a place you hate. I'm going to take the last part of this lecture. Where we fail in management, where we fail in organizations, 3M had a process for many years. I hire you as a scientist. Think about you in this same story. As I hire you as a scientist because of your skills as a scientist, then you're really good at your job. Now there's two tracks here. I'll put it up and we'll talk about it. You can get promoted and become a line officer or a sergeant, or you're so good at your job, I don't want you to be promoted. I want to keep you in your job because your value is so great. And what they had is a track. And law enforcement, some places had it. Unions fought them, said it should be longevity. So if you're really good, how can I pay you more without being promoted? Because promotion takes you away from your primary job as a police officer. And then with this track, they did have middle management and again followed the track. You could get more money, more prestige, and still be in your field. And then it shot off and became upper management. We don't reward people who do that job every day, come to work. That 80% that make an organization, we ignore them. We deal with the problems and we deal with the superstars. Superstars don't need you. Problems we need to do something about. But the middle people, the people that day-to-day make your organization, how to reward them. Thank you. This is the close of this lecture, and we'll see you online for the discussions about what we talked about. Have a nice day.